Dan RadioStyle, hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. Yes, levels of income, levels of love, levels of something, somehow levels playing in this. I don't know what I'm calling this as of right now, but I know this is a super important topic. A question came up which kind of had an angle in there that I didn't even bother trying to comment because this is really, there's a very interesting thing that happens in life and manifesting when I talk about energy, how we attract what we're vibrating at. One of my favorite quotes is this thing from Einstein. Get it close enough, maybe you can kind of read it. See, it's actually got words you can pause it, right? But we're all energy, right? All the stuff we're into is we're all energy. And so it's all about an issue of matching your vibration of energy. So that's one thing that's really important. Another thing, many people have talked about, many of the coaches and spiritual coaches throughout the ages have talked about, if you're trying to accomplish something, you want to have people around you, or examples at least, of that thing around you. So what that means is if you want to be more wealthy, more income, okay, trying to attract more wealth in your life, you want to have 4 out of the 5 people you're close to should have more money than you, should be more wealthy than you, if that is in fact what you're trying to attract. Because by being around that energy, you get used to the way it feels. You get used to the way they talk and think, what their concerns are. Someone that has money is not worried about keeping the coupons, right? Like that may be something you'd be like, oh my God, Sundays, I love Sundays because all the coupons come and, you know, it's awesome. And you might have your wealthy friend, they're like, what's a coupon? You know, like, right? They poo, a coupon, right? Who does that, right? So you want to be around people that are demonstrating what it is that you're trying to do. So another example, trying to get into a relationship, a really good thing to do is to hang out with people that are actually in relationships. Maybe not necessarily like be the third wheel, don't get me wrong, but your friends that are in healthy relationships and being around them and listening to the things they talk about and what their lives are about and how they're planning out their lives, and just being in that energy helps kind of get you into that mind frame, that mindset, the way we should be thinking, the questions I should be asking myself throughout the day, the things that should pop into my head throughout the day if I'm truly trying to be in this place of being in relationships, right? So it's that level. And so where I've noticed this most, now relationships kind of from the standpoint of when you experience love, it's such a powerful feeling. And then when you dip back out of it and get back into fear, you're not necessarily getting the thought transmissions of love from them as much anymore, maybe right now or whatever. Like when you feel that love disconnect, I will say that chopping of that feeling is very much similar. So I'm lumping it in, but with an asterisk. But when it comes to lifestyle and income, for sure, and I kind of tie those together. And there's a good friend of mine I've worked with. This guy's name's Robert. Wonderful guy. Actually just had his first year making over $1 million, which is really cool. He's one of my very good friends. See, good example. Have someone in my life that's very, very successful and also in a happy marriage and also has a wonderful 2 children that are very successful and a dog. I love dogs. He has a cat too. I shouldn't. He has a cat. Whatever. He has a dog too. That's the important part. Whatever. They get along. That's come on. But that all being said, the power of the levels. So what kind of happens in the first lower level? That's where a lot of us are coming from. We're going to use income just because it's an easy one. We'll talk about love, maybe kind of compare it here in a second, but just go with me on this example. So wherever you're at, whatever the place is where you are suddenly making enough money to pay all your bills easily, right? You're at that, like if that were your income level, and then you maybe just bump it up a hair from there, that's kind of your end of your first tier. So your first tier is that area that's right, just like you don't worry about whether or not you can pay your bills. When you've graduated from that energy. So again, that's like if you're trying to enhance your income from $5 an hour to $10 an hour or something where you're still kind of not necessarily above the poverty line, but you're making significant strides in the right direction, which is certainly wonderful. If you're coming at it from that angle, the way you need to feel and try to imagine how it would feel is if the thought of paying my bills never popped into my head. A bill shows up and you're like, yeah, bill showed up. No big deal. It's paid. It's done. Maybe I've got auto draft set up and I don't think about it at all. But when you think about what does it feel like if I have more money? For those that don't have any, for this kind of like this first area where paying the bills sometimes is a question, where am I going to get the money? Or I'd like to do something, but that's an extra $200. I might have to, maybe I need to wait a couple weeks and we'll see if I can put some money aside, right? Like if you're at that place where like a somewhat insignificant amount of money, maybe $200 is a lot to you, I don't know, but somewhat insignificant amount of money, maybe that's, doing that, it seems so large, like I can't do that. I gotta plan. I gotta make this happen. So if that's where you're at, you're kind of still in this lower first tier. Lower sounds bad. First tier though is really where it's at. So imagine what it would feel like to not worry about paying your bills. Going to the grocery store, you're not necessarily looking for the one that's on sale. You're actually looking for the brand that you like, or maybe the one that's healthy. Maybe it's organic. Maybe you're like, I'd rather eat healthier. And the thought in your mind is never, but it costs more. You don't say that when you have more money. Like when you've got enough to pay your bills, you don't really think that way. That's not something that pops into your head. That's how it feels to have more money. I don't worry about that. If a bill shows up for my insurance, I just write a check for my insurance. I don't worry about it. I don't think about it. I don't be like, I think my insurance bill is going to show up in 3 months. I need to start planning for that. No. So that's a level. And if you want to get to that level, you do it by kind of imagining, okay, this is what it's like. This is what it feel like. I'd never have to think about money. Great. That covers the first level. I want you to know there's a reason. So please go with me. Now there's a second level that you can dip up into. What happens when you get up into it, especially your first time? I like to look at it, just to help with the analogy, oil and water, right? If you put them in a glass and let it sit, if you've ever seen salad dressing maybe, and just like oil and vinegar or whatever, and let it just sit on the counter, you'll notice it separates, right? The oil will float on top and the vinegar's down on the bottom because it's more dense and all that, whatever, right? Okay. So it's like a level. It's like you dipped up into the oil level, which is less dense, it's lighter, and it's got this different feel about it. When you dip up into it from the area where you don't worry about paying bills, pretty much, and you dip up into it, you start to get to this place where it almost feels more like I don't worry about whether I want to buy something, I just buy it. Now, I'm not saying I'm necessarily just running around like, I'm going to buy a Maserati, and then tomorrow I'm going to go buy a Ferrari, and then, no, it's not like that. It's like, first off, I don't need all that stuff, right? So I'm still living within my means. But if there's something I decide I want, I'll go on Amazon and I'll buy it. I don't think twice about it. And when you kind of get to that in your first time, or where you even go, one example, I went to a place, I don't want to say the company name, I don't know, the Shaving Club. It doesn't matter. It's a friggin' YouTube channel. Who cares, right? It's Shaving Club. And it's for men. I don't know what the hell it is. But I bought one of those crazy brushes. I bought this fancy lotion. I got a stupid expensive razor, right? Got this little stand you can hang it all on. And in fact, the razor even has a button. It's powered. There's batteries in my razor, and it just vibrates. Like, which you would think is probably not the best thing for a blade on your face, but never. Whatever. I've got a shaky blade on my face that cuts my hair. And it was like I went to this place. It was funny. I'm going to share it because it was funny to me. And I literally was just thinking about it today, and it just kind of makes me laugh. I was at that place where I was feeling the oil level, and I was feeling invincible. I had that, just like, I got money, man. I got money in the bank. I got a bunch of money in the bank. I don't got to worry about this. And so I walked into this Shaving Club place for month. I was at the South Coast Plaza Mall, which for any of you that know Southern California is the nicer mall. And it's got all the crazy cool stuff. So I'm like, all right, well, to feel like a wealthier man, I want to kind of have some of these nicer things. So I walk in, I beeline in. I got to shave every so often. Obviously not often enough for any of you that have watched me. But that being said, so I walk in, I like that. Yeah, some of that lotion. Yeah, give me some of that cream. Yeah, sure, get the shampoo. What the hell? That looks wonderful. Cool. All this stuff. The lady sold me everything, but I only got like one of everything, right? Like, but they sold me everything. And we get up to the counter, and they ring it all up, and they tell me it's like $700 for shaving stuff. And I'm like, okay. I did. For a second, it hit me. I was like, damn, that's a lot of money for just shaving stuff. But you know what? I did it. And I bought it. I still use it. Just shaved the other day with it. And I'm like, I love this, man. I mean, it was the greatest, because I'll probably use it forever. It's like a really nice brush. Like, right. So anyway, you get up into that level. And the very first time I got up there, I was tasting this and I was living this. And then I lost that job. Well, they closed down the facility. I worked out an awesome deal. I've talked about that before, but it wasn't with the overtime I was making, but I was technically making more money, but I was missing a lot of money. I was making like 50% of my salary on top of my salary was overtime, literally. So I made like insane money for 2 years relative to what my salary was. So I used that income when they laid me off to get my second job with a bumped up thing. I was talking about it kind of on the show I did with Agnes recently. It was really that whole process of my life. And then oddly, ended up back at this same level. Well, let me step back a hair. So got the other job, a little less, and kind of got back into that place where I was making more than enough to pay my bills. But I didn't have that extra, I didn't have that like guaranteed where, I didn't have it. So I fell back down into that lower level and I wasn't vibrating the same way. I wasn't thinking the same thoughts. I knew how I felt and it was kind of like I could imagine it. But it was really like, I don't have it again. But I was like, but I'm going to get that back. I'm getting that back because that was awesome. And then manifested the current position I'm at, which was the money I was making, except now I don't do the overtime. Making the same money minus the overtime. So I took a giant step in the right direction, and I got myself back to that place where I don't really worry as much. Now, there is a level well above that. And that's really that level where you're buying houses and not thinking twice about it, right? Like I could get a better place, but right now I'm looking at the market, right? That's my thinking process. It's that same thing. We're expanding ourselves. It's that way you feel when you get to that upper level. And why, for those of us that have tasted it, we've gotten ourselves into the vortex, we're standing there and it's just the whirlwind of stuff all around us, right? It's like we're in that awesome place. And then we fall out of it. And it feels so bad. Feels like a loss. Feels like I had it. I was there. And I lost it. Why? Why, damn you? Right? And then they zoom out, right? That whole thing. But the reality of it is, you tasted it. That was your contrast to get you into it. There's positive contrast too, by the way. That was your taste of it. And yes, you fell out because you didn't hold that energy, as I've talked about. It's all about holding that thought process, holding that energy, making it to where that becomes your norm, right? Because the first time you dipped up into it, it was like, wow, and it was exciting. It was different. I don't care. I don't worry. And then you fell back down for a second and you're like, no, let's not be crazy. And then you somehow managed, maybe you got another crazy check, right? In my case, it was like, what would kind of happen? Because the overtime just started getting crazy. So it was like multiple checks started happening simultaneously. And it was just literally one day I looked in the bank and I'm like, good God. Like, wow, there's a bunch of money in there. And it was like I was back up in that feeling again. And then I put a bunch of it into my savings account. That's why I've talked about it before. When you want to feel wealthy, it's great when you've got a little chunk of change in the bank. There's no better way to feel like you got money than to have money. I tell you, it works like every time. And now, if having money is putting a $100 bill in your wallet, knowing I've always got a $100 bill, maybe it's having more than that. Maybe it's having a jar in your closet that's got $1,000 sitting in it. Maybe it's a bank account. But knowing you've got money, it's so much easier to feel like you have money. And you've gotten that feeling, you kind of dipped up to it, and we really need to try to figure out how to hang on to that. But really, it's not hanging on. It's just keeping this energy going, keeping this thought press going, not falling back into those old thoughts. When I'm up here not worried about money, yeah, sure, coupons are great. You can save more money. Wonderful. But the fact that you're thinking about how can I save more money can sometimes be a little more of a detractor than rather something that's very open and like universe is providing me more funds. Like, why would I worry about it? Like the name brand the name brand tastes better than the store brand one. It just does in this particular case. Like the spaghetti sauce, just one example. The one I like, it's like $9.99. It's amazing. And it's a jar. I don't have to make it homemade. It saves me a ton of time and cleaning. But the store-bought one that like $2.30, it's cheap tasting. It's got like sugar and a whole bunch of it's different. And it's a big difference. And not worrying about the difference in the $2.50 for a jar of Prego and the $9.99 for the whatever the heck the stuff's called. is that feeling. It's that. Like, yeah, maybe I get a coupon for that, and I might hang on to it, and I may actually use it. Who knows? But, I'm not looking for coupons. I'm not looking for the cheap sauce. I want the sauce I want. I don't care what it is. I'm not driving 15 extra minutes up the road either so I can save 20 cents because it happens to be on sale there. No way. My time's worth more than that. It's that feeling. So, again, same with love. When you're at that place with love, when you're feeling that, you've gotten close, you're tasting it, and then something pulls back. So many of us forget that it's the love that's causing us to try to do law of attraction. It's the love that's causing us to try to forgive. It's the love that's trying to work through whatever the concern is right now. But how many of us are getting into that place where maybe we think of the person, we think of them, and then we start to feel like it's not possible. Like, I had that moment where it was really good and it felt so good, and we keep remembering that, but then it's like, but then it faded away. And we keep going back down from the energy rather than remembering how it felt when we were there and trying to hold that feeling as long as you can. That good feeling. Thinking about them and just lighting yourself up. Tears coming down your face because it feels so good to love. That amazing feeling. Getting in touch with them, thinking about them from that standpoint. Feeling that energy. That energy is attractive. That energy is a thought transmission to the person you're after that feels amazing. When you're bumping your energy up to that level, that's when you cross over into that upper place and you're feeling that love again, even though maybe they're not talking to you right now, but you're still feeling it. You're feeling the love with them. You're feeling like, I am $1,000,000. I'm a great person. They'd be lucky to have me. We'll see if they want to. If they don't, I don't care. I'm going to find someone else. Doesn't matter. I'm an awesome catch. And you're from that place where I want to be with you. Please, please help me, love me. To I am a good person. I am a great catch. I am someone they would be lucky to have. Your energy feels very different. You dip up into that upper level. When you walk into rooms, when you're at that level, people turn their heads. They didn't even see you. They had their back to you, and they turned and looked when you walked in the room. Why? Maybe someone at the table went, like, right? Or maybe they just felt your presence. Who knows? But when you get up into that place, things happen differently. You can call it whatever you want. You can say I'm crazy. That's fine. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've been in plenty of rooms with people like that. I've had plenty of friends like that, and that has been me before. It is a great feeling when you get there. It's the same thing. And it's an issue of trying to hold that feeling as long as you can, as often as you can. And when you get to that place where you're in that feeling all the time, that's when you bust through that upper echelon into the next level. Now, what's the level after that? Dude, that's beyond me right now, right? I'm working towards it. Give me a little while. I'll probably start bumping up to it at some point. But right now, I'm enjoying kind of the phase 2 of my life. And I'm enjoying the growth and expansion that's coming with this. And it's exciting. And it maintains itself because this is now normal for me. Just like being in love is normal and will be normal and is normal. Feel that. Make that feel normal. Make that feeling. What would it be like if you were with them right now? What would be different? We were talking about the relationship. If you were in a relationship right now, what would be different about your life? What would you be doing differently? Well, you might not be watching this YouTube video. That's very possible. Hopefully you keep watching me because I talk about, spiritual stuff, not just manifesting, but usually it relates to it somehow. But again, what would you be doing different, if anything? What would be different? Would you feel differently? Because again, loving somebody and having them sit next to you on your couch, not a big difference in feeling. Nah, I still love you just as much. Pretty much sitting right next. I'll cuddle. All right, now we're talking. Now we're getting into it. So that's kind of different. Be a little romance, a little yow, right? Something. I don't know if I've ever called it yow. Probably not. It's okay. These things happen. You've got to accept yourself. Love yourself. So again, if love feels great, if love feels fantastic, that's what you should be thinking about. What would it be like having so-and-so with me now? How's that going to feel? How am I going to feel? Obviously, opposite is scared, but if you're in that place where you're scared, that's not even feeling good, right? Like, you got to work on the self-love thing and get yourself away from the fear because you are the stuff. And if they don't choose you, that's their loss rather than the other way around. That's almost always how you know it's kind of a self-love thing because they matter more than you. No, that's not right. You matter more than them. They'd be lucky to have you. You are that awesome. And if you don't believe that yet, then you need to keep working on that to where you do believe it because then you got that energy. Now you're super attractive. Now you walk into rooms and everybody's, oh my God. That's why. That's why we always talk about the energy. It's the part that matters. All the techniques in the world are meant to adjust the way you're feeling. They're meant to get you to a place, one, the asking, seeing it. There's definite creative flow with that. So the imagery matters. Don't get me wrong. I'm not playing any of that stuff down. But what it does, when you make it real, is you feel it. Get yourself into that feeling. That's why doing it daily feels good. That's why I always frequently tell people, are you doing it because it feels good? Or are you doing the exercises because you think you're speeding it up? Or you have to for whatever reason. If it feels good, yes, you're bringing energy towards it. You're feeling good. You're getting your vibration to that very attractive place. If you're doing it because you think you're speeding it up, you're coming at it from more of a, I need this thing. I want this thing. I got to have this thing. This thing, I need it. I don't have it right now. And when you come at it from the other place, yeah, there's this thing I want, but dude, life is great right now. And that'll happen if it doesn't, I don't care. Like I want it. Don't get me wrong. Doesn't change. I'm asking for it. But it changes that dependency. And that, for some reason, changes our energy from a needy-ish, maybe energy-sucking kind of component to somebody that's actually vibrating and radiating their own energy and making you a far more attractive choice. I hope this makes a difference for you. It's Dan RadioStyle.